Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. Say hello if you're here. If you're watching on a replay, please drop a note for me so that we can get more people to see this. I just wanted to hop on a little bit this morning. I'm just doing some holist work today and realizing that just there's so much confusion out there about carbs and what carbs are and what they mean and whether you should be having them or not. And I just wanted to come on and just give my opinion. The main problem is that I think that we're lumping too much stuff together. It's pretty easy to say fat and know what you're talking about, and to say protein and know what you're talking about. When you're talking about carbs, it's a lot more confusing because basically you can be talking about bread or like boxed things that you buy in the grocery store, or you could be talking about vegetables, right? And they're entirely different things. And that's one of the reasons why, with our clients, we don't count anything. We're not like calorie counters. We're not using apps to count because, first of all, it's just stupid because you're not going to do that forever. But also because it doesn't, your body doesn't count things that way. Your body is really more taking what you're taking in and using it based on what it's made of, not necessarily what the number is. So when you're talking about carbohydrates, I think the most important thing to do is to separate it into processed and unprocessed, because that is really the most important. So if you're talking about processed carbohydrates, you're talking about basically things you buy in the center of the grocery store, right? All the boxes of things or the bags of things that are carbohydrates. And so what carbohydrates are in general is that they're basically glucoses that are all linked together. And if they're linked together in a simple little line, then they're simple carbohydrates, and your body sucks them up really fast and uses them really fast, uses them for easy fuel, but then whoosh, drops real fast, right? And so that's why you get that hunger really quickly afterwards, and your body is going to stick that more easily into your adipose tissue to store it. Whereas if you're using carbohydrates that are complex, so all of the fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables, plant-based things that are in the periphery of the grocery store, those are carbohydrates that are strung together, but they have lots of complex lines of sugars, glucose that are popping off of them in all sorts of different ways. And those are harder to digest. They're better for your body takes longer to digest them. You don't get as quickly hungry afterwards as you do with other stuff. So when you should be talking about whether you're eating processed carbs, which we don't want, or whether you're eating unprocessed carbs. So when people are talking about going low carb, it's super confusing to me because I don't think that they understand what they're talking about. Like, nobody is going to be unhealthy in fat by eating vegetables. Like, that's just ridiculous. Long-term health is built off of a good combination of complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and proteins. So you've just got to figure out what that is for you. So when we're talking about going low carb, you should be talking about going low processed carbs. And so if I could have my tribe start a revolution of taking the word carbohydrate by itself away and be talking about processed carbs or unprocessed carbs. So shop in the periphery of the grocery store. If you have to go into the middle to buy something, like go in like a mission, like it's a military mission or something. Go in, grab it, and get out, because that's where all the bullshit is. What else? So we're talking about a little bit about low carb. So when we're talking about keto, when people are having success with keto, that is a very specific type of low carb diet, right? It was initially made for kids who are having epilepsy, so seizure disorder, and they realized that if they increased their fats to 70% of their diet, that they had less seizures. And so that was it was initially made for. It turns out that it also helps your body figure out how to be a fat burner instead of a sugar burner, which is awesome. That's what we do as well. But having 70% fat is not necessarily good for you long term. It will help you lose weight, but it's mostly, in my opinion, going to help you lose weight because you are cutting out on the processed carbohydrates in order to increase your amount of fat. And so what you should be doing, in my opinion, is to increase your healthy fats, plant-based fats. Do a good job with your protein. Both of those should be about 30%. The rest of it should be unprocessed carbohydrates from plants, okay? So you can get a lot of information from keto. Like, I'm super stoked that there is a keto trend right now because there's so much to learn from. So you can get on the internet really and just like search for it and pull up recipes from the keto world and figure out how to create your food in an unprocessed way, which is amazing. I just don't think that you should be having 70 to 80% of your food coming from fat, but there is a ton to learn from. There's another trend called low carb healthy fat, which I think is also a great place to learn from. Again, they're not talking about unprocessed versus processed carbohydrates. I think that we need to start that revolution because going low carb, again, you're going to be cutting out a lot of the good healthy vegetables. So that's my little bit of diatribe today. We've got a whole bunch of people watching. Thank you so much for joining. Drop some questions into the comments and I'm happy to answer them. And if you're watching this on replay, give me a replay so we can bump this up and other people can see it. And I will talk to you guys later. Ciao.